Welcome guys to mttech.live, your trusted source for professional IT training. On this channel, we break down complex technology into clear practical lessons designed to help you build real-world skills and advance your career in IT. Today we are going to learn how to install Active Directory domain services and DNS server. So for this lesson, I built some pages for your understanding, and let's begin with the first slide. So before the installation of the Active Directory, let's understand what is Active Directory domain services. The Active Directory domain services is the logical design used by Active Directory in Windows Server 2019, 2012, or 2025 to organize and manage network resources such as users, computers, groups, and policies. It's built in hierarchical model similar to tree structure. So this is the definition of the Active Directory domain services. So let's jump to the next slide. On this slide, I have the domain structure. That's called the Active Directory domain structure. So before giving you further information about the domain structure, let's say what is a forest. So forest is the top level and largest boundary. So if you have a specific definition for the forest, a forest is the highest level in Active Directory. It contains one or more domains. Like here we have on this picture, there are some trees. And this is a forest. And the trees are the domain or the domains for this forest. So according to my definition, it contains one or more domain trees, shares a common schema, shares a common configuration, has automatic trust between all domains inside it. So it means that each tree is a separate domain, and these domains are in one forest, and they have a trusted connection between each other. So the important point is there is only one schema per forest that we will later understand what is a schema. And it has as well security boundaries at the forest level. As I have an example for you here, we have a domain here. It's called mttech.live. This is the first main domain in this forest. So we have some other trees as well that they could be domains as well. So let's say what is a tree in this forest? A tree is a group of domains that share the same namespace. Like here we have the mttech.live as it functions our first main domain in this example. And we have some child domains as well that we will understand what is a child domain. Child domain is subdomains for the main domain. Like we have the sales.mttech.live, hr.mttech.live. So let's jump to the next slide. In this slide, we have the forest, the top level, largest boundary. So as a forest is the highest level in Active Directory, what it contains inside a forest. Let's understand what actually contains inside a forest. So it contains one or more domain trees, and as well as share a common schema, share a common configuration, has automatic trust between all domains inside it. And the most important point is that I have to tell you, there is only one schema per forest that you will understand later on what's schema. And let me tell you as well that security boundaries are defined at the forest level. As an example, if your root domain is mttech.live, then everything under it belongs to the same forest unless another independent domain tree is added. So this means that to the previous slide, we have emptytech.live. In other emptytech.live, we have sales.emptytech.live, hr.emptytech.live, in it.emptytech.live. They are all the main branches of the emptytech.live. So let's come to the next slide. And let me tell you what is a tree. As the definition is, a tree is a group of domains that share the same namespace. And I have already explained about the tree. What is a domain? A domain is a logical group of network objects. What contains inside a domain? It contains users, computers, and groups. And it has its own security policy and is managed by domain controller. Example, emptytech.live. This is the main parent or root domain for this example. So what is a child domain then? A child domain is a subdomain created under a parent domain, as I told you. On this picture, the emptytech.live is the main domain, and it has some children here. These are the child domains for the emptytech.live. So what is the characteristic of the child domain? The characteristic of the child domain has its own domain controller, which is the top domain, has its own database copy, automatically trusts the parent domain, shares the same forest. The trust relationship between the parent and child are built automatically, intransitively. So the next topic is the organizational unit. As it's abbreviated under OU. So what is an organizational unit? An organizational unit is a container inside a domain. And the function of the organizational unit is it's used to organize users and computers, apply group policies, delegate administrative control. As an example, we have emptytech.live, then we have the sales, the HR, the IT, which are the child domains for the main domains. So the important point is when we build an organizational unit, OUs do not create new domains. They do not require additional domain controllers. They are easier to manage than child domains. So nowadays, most organizations prefer using OUs instead of creating many child domains. The next one is the schema. As I told you, what is schema? The schema defines what objects can exist. Users, group, computer. What attributes they can have, like an email, password, a phone number. When we create a user, so a user should have an email, password, phone number. The key point is only one schema, as I told you, per forest. stored in the forest root domain. So the next one is the global catalog. The global catalog stores partial information about all objects in the forest, help users log in faster, and allows searching across domains. Very important in multiple domain environment. But last but not least, there is a trust relationship between the root domain and the child domains. When multiple domains exist, trust is automatically created because the trust is transitive and users can access resources in other domains if permissions allowed. Example, users in cell department can access resources in emptytech.live if the emptytech.live, the root domain, gives permission for the cells.emptytech.live to have such information. As I have here, when is a trust relationship made. So now let's jump to the summary of the entire explanation and give you a clear picture and articulate what we have talked. So the forest is the emptytech.live, and parent domain is the emptytech.live. In child domains are sales.emptytech.live or hr.emptytech.live. In OUs inside domain such as sales OU, HR OU, and IT OU, organizational unit, just like a folder, to put all the users inside a folder. And users stored inside OUs, as I told you, in policies applied using group policy. Now let's jump to the installation and configuration of the Active Directory domain services and the DNS server. So guys, let's begin installing the Active Directory domain services and the DNS server. But before installing both of the services, it's very important to assign a static IP address because the Active Directory requires a fixed IP address to ensure network reliability and proper DNS functionality. So now I will open the server manager from the start menu. Here is our server manager. So let's wait all the services are running. Yeah, they are running properly. And so you can assign an static IP address from two places. This static IP address can be assigned from local server as well and from the run menu as well. If you want to assign from the local server, so you will come here and you will press the Ethernet here. This is our adapter, and you can access this location as well from the run by entering ncpa.cpl. So we will open this and we will come to the properties and all the way here to the Internet Protocol version 4, IPv4, and we will assign a static IP address here. So our static IP address is 192.168.1.10, and the default gateway will be the same IP address 192.168.1.10, and the DNS server IP address will be the same IP address, 192.168.1.10. Then I'll press OK button. Here as well, OK button. Then close. Then here we will refresh it. So here we will check if the IP address is assigned. So here we have the IP address 192.168.1.10. Here as well the default gateway and the DNS server IP address. Then the second thing that you have to change before installing the Active Directory domain services and the DNS services. So you have to change the name of the computer. So for the purpose of this demo, I will change the computer name to MT Tech. And I press OK here, and the computer needs to be restarted. So I will try to restart it. At this moment I'll pause the video because it takes a couple of seconds to get restarted. So here the server got restarted. Now I here put the password. And let's see. Let's leave the computer to get refreshed. So you can see here the computer name is changed, which is very important. First, you have to change the IP address statically. You have to enter your IP address, and you have to change your computer name. Then see if the machine is updated, the Windows. So it needs 2 more softwares, such as the Security Intelligence Update for Microsoft Defender Antivirus. You have to install both of them. And the second one is Update for Microsoft Defender. To get a proper security, so both the updates are installed and it's updated. Let's close this and let's check the time, and we have to change the time, change the time zone. So I live in Berlin, so I have to change the time to Berlin. And it's refreshed. In the time okay. Let's reopen it again. Let's see, the time has changed. Now it's 12 o'clock, 22 past 12. So now I installed the Active Directory domain services with the DNS server. So I open the server manager. You can through the you can install them through the PowerShell and through the GUI as well. So let's first try through the GUI. So here I have manage. Then I'll open the add roles and features. Then I will press next, next. Then this is our server. Next. Then I select from here the Active Directory domain services, add features. Then next. So yeah, and the DNS server as well. So then I'll press install. Since it takes a couple of minutes to get installed, I'll pause the video. So here our Active Directory domain services with the DNS server have been installed. So I'll press the close button. Then here we have sign a notification that we have to promote this server to a domain controller to change this PC from the work group to the domain controller. So I will press this notification, promote the server to a domain controller. Then here, add a domain controller to an existing domain if I have already configured a domain. So I will add this domain to an existing domain. So here is another option, add a new domain to an existing forest. So it means that if we have a domain and we add this domain to that forest too, then we will choose the second option. And here we have the tree domain and child domain. But since it's a new domain, we will add this domain to a new forest. Then we will choose the third option. And this domain is a root domain, as I explained you in theory. I'll write the name of this domain as mtech.live. Then I'll press next. And we will wait for a couple of seconds that the system accepts this domain mtech.live. So the system accepted, and here is the Windows Server 2025, and this is the domain functional level. Here is the domain name system DNS server, and here is the global catalog as I explained to you. And the third one is a read-only domain controller, or the domains that can be installed as a read-only domain controller. Nothing, they can do nothing but just a readable domain controller. So here we have to enter a password for the DSRM, which is a directory services restore mode. If we later on have any problem with any functions of the domain controller and we wish to restore to the first step, so here we will enter the restore password. You have to give your own password, whatever you want to enter in these two boxes. Then we'll press the next button. Then we don't need any to create DNS delegation now. So we'll press directly next. In here, the system will automatically have the BIOS domain name, the net BIOS domain name, and it will take a couple of seconds. So here empty tech 0. So we will press next and we will accept the net BIOS domain name. And this is the database folder where the NTDS, NTDS and sys volumes are stored, the information that the system generate, like log files and system volumes and database, AD DS database. So you can change it from here as well to another place or another drive, but we will keep it as default and we'll press next. And this is the review of our installation, such as here we have the NetBIOS name of the domain and the functional level, which is Windows Server 2025, and the global catalog is as well yes, and the DNS server as well it's yes, and the database folder as well, and you can view the script as well if you want to keep this piece of information, but it's important to keep, so I will keep it somewhere in a drive, because if later on I need this piece of information, then I should have it. So I will save it in D drive under the info AD DS. Then I'll press next. In here we have a prerequisite is check that the system need to be validated before Active Directory domain service is installed on this computer. So it takes a couple of seconds. Let's wait for it. I hope there is no problem. If there is a problem as well, we have to fix it. So here it meets all the requirement that the domain controller needs. See here at the bottom of the page, all prerequisite checks passed successfully. Click install to begin the installation. So I'll click the install button and so you have to be patient that all the services should be installed in this system. So here everything has been installed in the computer. Restart it. So you will wait. So after the installation of the Active Directory domain services and DNS server, the system got restarted, and we should not forget that we have configured them as well. So at this point we will sign in with the domain credentials. Administrator at empty tag.live, and we will enter the password. And here we are. So here all the services AD DS and DNS are installed. And in order to verify that the Active Directory and DNS services are installed perfectly, we have to open the tools, Active Directory users and computers, and here we see that here we have the empty-tech.live, the domain named as domain. It's installed, and here we have to check if we can create a user. So we will write the username as John and the last name Doe, and the user login name should be as John at empty-tech.live. Then next, then we will enter a password for John, and user cannot change password, and password never expires, and finish. And here we have a user created. Let's create an OU. Organizational unit. Let's name it as sales department. And this is the organizational unit. And let's bring the user John to this organizational unit through move sales department and OK. Now let's check the sales department, and here we have the user John Doe. So everything works perfect. And so let's check if everything works perfect. I will open the command prompt, and let's ping our server internally to check if everything works correctly. Then here ping 192.168.1.10, so it pings. So let's ping through domain empty-tech.live. It works as well, but since the IP version 6 is enabled, so we can disable that one too. So let's disable IP version 6 from here. It's disabled. The DNS record, if we still have a DNS record for the IP version 6, so here we have a DNS record for IP version 6. When you ping empty-tech.live, the fully qualified domain For it, let's create a new record. So empty tag.live, and the IP address is 192.168.1.10. Add host. The record has been added. Done. And we have the record. So let's ping this time through the domain address empty.emptytag.live. It does work, so there is no problem. So this was the complete installation for the Active Directory domain service and DNS server. Thanks for watching. Have a nice time. Bye bye.